How lucky am I that we Zoomed with Dion, and now I've got Bob Costas back on the program a day after he was on. How are you, Bob? Good to chat.
I'm good, but I'm here to do a mea culpa. But I'm glad you played that thing from 3 years ago and other things that have happened since then, because it establishes for those who aren't in the know kind of what our on-air relationship is, and especially where it surrounds the NFL, where once I was fully immersed, and it was certainly my honor to host those Super Bowls and work with the people I worked with and be involved in all those great games. But it's kind of our own inside joke that I'm not as up to speed on the NFL as I used to be. So yesterday, your producer texts me and says, we need you to go on with Rich for a bit, but I don't know what it is. I have no idea what you're talking to me about. And you spring on me that you've underrated the Lions and put them too low
in my
on your overall ratings at the beginning of the season.
Yes, sir.
So in keeping with that, I say, what? Are Alex Karras and Nick Pietrasani hurt?
Right.
But apparently some people who aren't in on the joke think I was dissing the Lions or whatever it might be. Then you referred to a text that I sent you on Monday night when the Jets went to overtime against the Bills. And that was before anything had happened, before the Bills went 3-and-out and punted, and the Jets returned the punt for the winning touchdown. So I said, here we go, stupid rule again, because you and I have been talking about that before.
Yes, sir.
But apparently you can't expect people to be up to date on everything, to have read the whole syllabus. You can't expect that. So some people are thinking, well, doesn't he know that they changed the rule this year going into the playoffs? In the playoffs, if the team scores first, this includes the Super Bowl, if the team scores first, on the first possession rather, on a touchdown, then the other team is guaranteed a possession.
Sure.
So they've changed that. But in the regular season, it remains, if the team scores a touchdown on the first possession, the game is over.
Correct.
So that remains a stupid and unfair rule. I was not saying that the way that game ended was unfair. The way that game ended was fair because that's the way the circumstances played out.
Yes.
The Bills had the ball. They couldn't move it. They punted. The Jets returned the punt for a touchdown. If every game played out that way, then each team would have had the ball once, and they would have had an equal chance. The problem with the rule in the abstract, not in the way it happens to play out in any given game, the problem with the rule in the abstract, especially in the postseason, was that it was so random, that you had games like the Falcons and the Patriots in the Super Bowl several years ago, where the Patriots won the flip. They scored a touchdown. The Falcons in the Super Bowl never touched the ball. Matt Ryan, the year he was the MVP, never touched the ball. And I first talked about that on NBC, the opener, the Super Bowl champion being the Patriots in September of 17 following that Super Bowl. They get to host the Super Bowl. The game's on NBC. And I did a commentary about how, taking nothing away from the Patriots and none of the blame away from the Falcons for blowing the game with bad strategy, still that rule is unfair. And until they changed the rule going into the 23 season, it very nearly could have happened again, because the Bengals and Rams 2 Super Bowls ago came very close to going to overtime with that same rule in place. So that's what we were kind of joking about. That's why I sent you the text, because it's an ongoing thing, just like me someday visiting the Combine just to shock the hell out of you. That's the tone of it.
Yes.
But some people apparently weren't aware that I've been all over this. In fact, the NFL has moved closer to doing what I've editorialized both on NBC and on HBO and on your program, making the overtime rules make greater sense. They're closer. They're not fully there yet, but they're closer.
So you're saying you're making overtime great again. You're MAGA.
You know what they should, in the postseason, they should play a timed period.
Yes.
In the regular season, it should be every team is guaranteed at least one possession.
Correct.
Even if the first possession results in a touchdown. And after that, if it's still tied, still scoreless in overtime, then you're playing, in effect, sudden death. But in the postseason, they should play probably a 10-minute timed period, reason being that with the present overtime rules, you're taking one of the essential elements, both of strategy and of theater, out of the NFL or out of football itself, which is the race against the clock management. That plays no role in overtime under the present rules. I'm okay with that in the regular season, but not in the postseason, where you should have drama and theater, as well as strategic fairness.
So there you go. I'm glad that we have cleared all that up, and I think it's apparent that I made the mistake to even just reach out to you for my power rankings, Bob. You know, like I just needed that help from my power rankings, and I apologize that I roped you into all this sort of stuff.
I will say this, as I happily concede, I am not up to date on a number of these issues.
Hold on a second, and here's my clock management as the radio audience is about to go away and what we call in the business a hard out. Said the entertainer coming up in hour 3. We now have another minute and a half of runway on Roku. How's that clock management right there, Bob? How's that right there?
Cedric the Entertainer, one of my homies from St. Louis.
That's right.
Give him my best.
I think he's here in the back right now. He might actually be hearing that from you. I like that.
Tell him I'll meet him at Blueberry Hill for a burger next time we're both in town.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
Thanks for the call, Bob. I appreciate it.
All right, see you.
You're truly the best.
Weekend.
There you go. Bob Costas, everybody. That's the errors and omissions event of our program. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.